Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Happy Sunday, and I hope that you guys are all been having a great weekend. Now, at the end of my Friday video, I made mention of a video topic that I wanted to cover here today, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Because I have caught wind of something that I'm pretty sure is going to be happening with regards to Battleworld 2. And as you guys know, Sentry is going to be the next big boss, and, who will be collecting through Battleworld 2, who is going to be Sentry. That's going to have like an alternate form of some kind. I think I mentioned this in other videos, the Void. But alongside him is going to be I'm going to say a long lost character that we had talked about that I had leaked in the past. I think back in the spring, maybe a little bit before that. I can't remember the exact date. I had a video on it, maybe one or two, about Onslaught and the Dark Descendants. Now, I'm bringing this up again because I think they kicked the can down the road, and this is going to be a release for Battleworld 2. In fact, could be the new Astral replacement, because I don't know how good Astral is going to be or not for Battleworld 2, but I do think that this is coming back around. And it makes more sense now when we take a look at what the kit was before. Now, I think that we're going to take a look at that leak kit of Onslaught. I think that what we're going to get now is going to be a different version of that. But when it comes to the Dark Descendants, and if you people who watched that video, there was some callouts to the Brotherhood as well. I think this makes a lot more sense now in the context of the current characters, things like Insidious 6 with Sinister 6, this kind of thing with a new tag and an old tag that's being mixed in together with different characters. We're going to talk about that, all that, and more in today's video. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, so gonna go over this. This is the PDF that I have of the old Onslaught kit. And I just want to kind of go through this a little bit just so you guys have an idea of what it was kind of entailed to be before. And like I said, I think this was like February or March. So I just want to kind of go from the top, right? And just to be clear that I don't think that Onslaught is a special character, aka like he's not epic, he's not mythic, that kind of thing, because we have Zombie Kestrel coming out in October. So I think that Onslaught and or the Dark Descendants will be in that October patch with Zombie Kestrel later on. But for that reason, like, I don't think he's an epic character. And I think some people might be disappointed that, a lot of people believe that he should be a mythic character, basically, that he's good enough to do that. We'll see what ends up happening, though. So his basic was Malevolence that attacks primary and adjacent targets for 300% damage. If this character's health is 50% or more, apply offense down for 2 turns to each target. Okay, but if it's below, it does 50% drain. So there's some of this stuff going on here. It was not that amazing, but it's interesting. The offense down for 2 turns is decent. Special Dark Entity, spread all negative effects, excluding stun. Now, who knows, right? This could change now that we have like Rachel Summers now that can spread stun. Very well, a lot of these things could change. From the primary target to all adjacent enemies, attack primary and adjacent targets for 400% damage, plus apply Disrupt for 2 turns, defense down for 2 turns, and then apply offense up for 2 turns to self and all adjacent mutant allies. So I want to pay particular attention to some of the callouts like mutant, like villains that they have down here, and the way that they're trying to make him more viable with other characters and teams, possibly. Ultimate Psionic Slaughter, clear all barriers from all target. Now, this was because I think this was supposed to be an anti-null thing. Null had a lot of barrier, right? And I don't think that all of the same parts of the kit are going to be if we see him later on, because I just think that it'll have to be more relevant to the Sentry fight, right? And we don't really know. I don't know what the details of that or what his kit, the enemy kit is, etc., etc. Barrier Self and all Dark Descendants and all villain allies for 50% of this character's max health. It's quite a lot. Attack all enemies for 450, plus apply offense down for 2 turns. Apply offense up, defense up to self, all Dark Descendants, and all villain allies. And then particularly in Battleworld, there's a few Battleworld callouts. Apply stun to the enemy with the highest damage, ignoring taunt and stealth. Generate 3 ability energy for self and all Dark Descendant allies. So energy battering on the ultimate, which is pretty good. And 200% extra focus per Dark Descendant ally. So basically a guaranteed stun. So I guess the question is, how relevant would this be in a potential Sentry boss fight? I'm not even sure how relevant this would have been in the Null fight, right? It just applies because you can't stun Null. I don't know. It seemed kind of weird to me. But who knows? We don't know what the actual missions are going to look like for Battle World 2 either, because we did use Astral for those special elite missions. And so you probably would be doing the same with Onslaught and Dark Descendants as well. Passive, Unchained. On spawn, gain 3 charges. When a Brotherhood or Dark Descendants ally uses an ultimate ability, gain +1 charged. Okay. Now, I want to, again, pay particular mention to the Brotherhood or Dark Descendants callouts. Now, we know in the current iteration, like what we're doing right now in Marvel Strike Force, we have all these different rework teams, right? We have all sorts of things, Infestation, and then we had Scorpion going into Infestation, and then we had the other Insidious 6 going into Superior 6, but they're all like Sinister 6. And so this kind of is where I think that the game is headed, that we're going to be seeing a lot more reworks to characters, but we're going to see mixing and matching, but also, people with the Dark Descendants tag that probably also have the Brotherhood tag so that you could use the Dark Descendants in a mix and match mode, but they might do like an across the board rework to a lot of the existing Brotherhood to say make them viable in war, right? For some of this stuff here. So I think that's something that we're going to be seeing, especially because they're already doing that, right? Or they're releasing new characters that are being added to old teams and basically making things more viable in general. On any turn, if this character is 5 or more charged, attack all enemies for 300% damage, and then fill speed bar for self and all Dark Descendants and Brotherhood allies by 50%. That's pretty big, right? And so you're going to get those charges for every ultimate ability. So I don't know how many times this would end up happening, like once or probably once, really, like in a PvP matchup, that kind of thing. And then you lose all the charges. Lower the accuracy of enemies with blind by 100%. Now, I made mention of this in the first video months ago, that there is no blind in Onslaught's kit, right? So this, to me, suggests that you're going to be using Magneto in some fashion. Is he maybe he's not a Dark Descendant, right? If we take this from the Insidious 6 patch, right, we had the 3 new characters, but Magneto will just be a Brotherhood tag member, but they might be additional callouts on the other characters that say, like Vulture and Shocker, for example. And in this case, it would be like plus Magneto or something. There's going to be something that's going to bring them together. Because I think, speaking of bringing together, I think that's really what this is. Magneto has a blind, an AoE blind in his kit, and I think that they're going to utilize this for the combination of Onslaught here. The speed of this character and each Dark Descendants and Brotherhood ally can only be reduced by slow. So no Emma Frost speed manipulation, that kind of thing. Gain 50% damage and 50% max health, and Dark Descendant allies also do that. Now, this is something that maybe will get changed later on. I thought they were moving away from team passives and that kind of thing and just caking it into their kit. So I want to go back and check Astral, actually, and see whether or not they have this kind of stuff. And then in Battle World, gain an additional 50% damage, and so do Dark Descendants. And then on turn, heal self and all Brotherhood allies. It was weird that it didn't call out Dark Descendants in here as well for 20% of this character's max health, unless all the Dark Descendants are also Brotherhood, which could be a thing, like Brotherhood being the base tag, kind of like Sinister 6, and so it wouldn't really matter that much, perhaps. I don't know. This character and all Brotherhood allies speed bar cannot be reduced until this character takes a turn. So this is a little bit better, right? This character and all Brotherhood allies. So because it's in Battle World, to me, this suggests then that all of the Dark Descendants would also have the Brotherhood tag, but only the 3 new characters would have the Dark Descendants tag. And so again, that kind of, I want to go back into the game here and talk about this, because it kind of makes me think that they're going into this huge rework phase, right? We're getting so many reworks in the game. We're getting things like the Infestation rework. Like in one patch, we got so many characters being reworked. Infestation, some of the Sinister 6 members are just making them broadly more viable. We also got the new that's coming out with Phantom Rider, right? The Secret Warriors, and those 4 reworks. Now, I know this was not just one tag, but my point is that they're doing a lot of reworking in general for, in this case, Alliance War. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I read something in chat. Was it for a Chapter 2 roadmap or something that talked about, or Age of Annihilus or something like this, about that there was going to be changes to Alliance War, or they were going to improve Alliance War. I don't remember what I read, but that to me, maybe that's what all of these reworks are all about, and making things, more characters viable in the Alliance War game mode. And we're just seeing a lot more reworks. Now, you could say this is a good thing, or a bad thing. It depends on your outlook. It's a lot of additional characters, and it could muddy the waters a little bit in terms of what's the priorities for upgrading these characters. If Dark Descendants is what is in fact coming to the game with Onslaught in October with Battle World 2, because there's a lot of indication in the game files that yes, Sentry and Battle World 2 is coming. There's already, I've covered this in data mines, there's already text for the boss fights, all the different bosses that are there. We have an avatar icon for Sentry. It'll just be a matter of time until we hear a little bit more. And I think that release with the Battle World 2 is going to line up with this, with the Dark Descendants, with Onslaught. Onslaught being the first character probably to come out for that. Because I don't have any indication of who the other characters for the Dark Descendants are going to be. We could speculate that a little bit. But I think that we might see a broader Brotherhood rework. Now, we've already seen that with Juggernaut, who is a Brotherhood member, who is also a member of the Accursed. And it would be amazing to see Juggernaut team up with Magneto in Alliance War, right? With Onslaught or something like that. It'd be really crazy. And also seeing some minor reworks, or in some cases, really big reworks, right? These characters haven't been meta for some time. Mystique was on the Marauders team, so I guess we'll see how many of these characters would get reworked or not. Mystique was okay, I guess. It's been a long time since the War Defense, right? So maybe they'll have some characters that are War Defense and War Offense. Like, they could do all sorts of things, right? Because there's a fair bit of extra characters here. Plus, if you added in the Dark Descendants, that's 3 of them, then there'd be like 10 here for the Brotherhood. So maybe you could make 2 teams. I mean, or one more focused on War Offense and one more focused on War Defense. Sabretooth was also on the Marauders and also on Weapon X, but Weapon X is pretty much dead, right? I mean, there was like Wolverine and X-23 and like some other characters that were thrown on. Like, it's nobody uses them anymore because they're old stat era. And then Toad and Blob. I don't know if anyone ever got the chance to use Toad and Blob, but Blob actually he had this pretty interesting passive where on enemy turn, apply +1 deflect up to a max of 3 to adjacent allies. So you could stick Blob in between a bunch of other characters to the side that would constantly get deflect every single enemy turn. And this was actually a pretty big thing back then. Like, this was years ago, like 4 years ago. And I think it would be really exciting. And I think that's maybe where they're headed for the change or the improvements to Alliance War, by just giving all of these different options, I suppose. And it could seem very overwhelming. And it does. I think people right now for this patch are feeling pretty overwhelmed with the priorities of which should be Insidious 6 as your main priorities there. I might do Secret Warriors. I'm definitely not doing it. P.S. Infestation was a massive trap. Apparently you could beat them with Sinister 6, like with the new Vulture improvements and things like that, and it's not that difficult. So I do think that the big time Spidey and the Infestation reworks was a bit of a trap. I'm not sure if Scorpion's really going to make much of a difference on that team, but nonetheless, like, there's a lot of things going on right now, and this is just one thing that I've heard about that could be coming up. That I'm not going to say 100%, but I have a reasonable enough impression that it's going to happen for me to do this video. I need some solid evidence to suggest that I'm willing to put out a video and put my name on the video and all that stuff without, for talking about it. And so I do think that there is a pretty good chance that this will happen. And they did, if I'm not mistaken, actually, someone will remind me in the comments that I'm pretty sure they made mention about Magneto getting a rework, or legacy characters getting a rework, legacy legendaries or something like this getting a rework. And so this would not be that surprising if they decided to go this route. I said that this was probably going to be the case as well when I was talking about it back February, March, or whenever I did that video, and so I think that this is probably the direction that we're headed, and we're going to see a wider Brotherhood rework just for other PvP sake, right? Like I don't know what the best combination of characters would or would not be, so please don't go ahead and level these characters at all. But this is just something to think about that might be coming soon. And I love villain mutants. I love mutant characters in general, and I would really love to see that. Now, as far as who would be on the Dark Descendants, I literally have no idea. I think I looked up when I talked about this before. There was other existing characters that were actually part of the Dark Descendants. Havoc, right? I mean, maybe they're gonna add some tags to some of these characters. I don't know. Like, Havoc had a run with the Dark Descendants, especially the Onslaught version, as far as I'm aware, and also some of the characters that are from the current Death Seed. Oh, is that not how you spell the team? Oh, Death Seed, 2 words. Okay. With Dark Beast and Nemesis, were also part of this, right? So was Magneto, who's on the list. So how deep, how broad are we going to see this kind of update? I don't know. And please, if you're more knowledgeable than I am about these characters, let me know in the comments down below what kind of characters that you would like to see on this Dark Descendants team. I don't know if it's going to happen, of course, right? I don't know who's on the team exactly. Other than Onslaught, there would be 2 other characters, right, up for grabs, I guess, at this point. So it's fun to talk about. I do like to speculate about who the new characters would be on that team, but they're going a bit broad, and people like this. Like, broadly, Sinister Six was a big hit, right? So if we get something like this for the Brotherhood, I think this would go over fairly well. Even though it does feel a little bit overwhelming, it does bring some life back into some of these other characters as well, both for veterans and for new players that want to build up into them. So I think that this seems to be the direction they're going, right? Azazel, again, added to the Accursed, Rachel Summers, added to the Immortal X-Men, and this patch here, which really focused on the Sinister Six broader side of things. So really interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see you guys all on the next video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.